There is a video that I wanted to watch. The video is about private equity buying out YouTube channels.
YouTube channels that you're subscribed to. There's a good chance at least one of them was quietly sold to private equity. But hold on, how? The creator is still there and the thumbnails look the same, but behind the scenes, the same guys behind Blackstone are now calling the shots for your favorite creator. And
Colin and Samir got bought out?
The creator is under no legal obligation to tell you that the channel quietly changed hands. So really, you actually have no idea whether this channel was bought out too or not.
Here's what I will say. Veritasium certainly has felt different in the past like two years. Like the videos feel like movies, and Derek, whatever his last name is, Derek, the guy that runs Veritasium, is not like the head of the channel anymore. It's like transitioning to other guy with blonde hair that I don't remember their name. Yeah, I'm bought out. Yeah. Trevor Trefor got bought out. Yes.
It's not. It turns out it's not slowing down because private equity firms have quietly spent over $4 billion buying YouTube channels. But what's weird is that it's not even really going that great. Early signs are seeing the creators who built the channels walking out, videos starting to slowly suck, and the private equity firm that bought them can't even milk the ad dollars that they were counting on. So then why is private equity continuing to double down? Well, because what they're really paying for is your trust. Trust that doesn't just sell VPNs and mattresses, but trust that can help pick whichever candidate protects private equity's interests. And not only was 2024 proof of this, it's just the beginning. And so I followed the money across every deal that I could find and mapped out exactly how this works and what will happen in the future. And what I found is that it's looking increasingly likely that private equity is about to take it all for themselves. And if something doesn't change.
Okay, multi-billion-dollar companies are buying out large YouTube channels to have the trust and influence that they have over their own viewer base. Is that not like the ultimate form of selling out? If that's true, if that's actually what this video is about, then I think I would rather see like I don't know, like a gambling sponsorship than have that happen. But I guess we'll find out.
We won't just lose the platform that we all love, but the last bastion of trust at a time when there's nothing much left to trust.
Oh yeah, have you guys seen that video where it's like 50 different news stations that are like, listen, you can trust us, like they're all reading the exact same script. You can come here every time you need a trustworthy news source.
So to understand this whole thing, I think the best way is by showing you how a private equity firm even buys a YouTube channel. And I'll show you by being private equity in this demonstration. And once you see how this actually works step by step, you will understand why so many YouTube channels you watch are quietly changing and why nobody had to tell you about it. So let's say I work at a private equity fund, a big fund with this big suit. And the fund I manage is called Blackstone. Actually, scratch that. Subscriber Stone Capital. And anyways, a bunch of wealthy people recently gave me a lot of money. And my job is to buy businesses, make them more valuable, and sell them in the next 5 to 7 years. So with the clock already running, the pressure was already on to deliver. But the problem is, big returns only exist in places that nobody else has risked going to before. And right now, all the obvious targets are taken. Manufacturing, healthcare, logistics, and retail.
Okay.
Because there's been so...
Okay, one quick thing. I was recently watching a video where it was talking about how you guys know that streamer Clavicular, right? Who everyone seems to know, not of their own volition, but because he keeps coming across your algorithm feeds mostly on Twitter, right? Well, these big creators on Kick essentially have a program where they can pay. Like they pay people primarily from like low income places in the world to like make as many clips as they can, and they're incentivized to get as many views as possible. And there's like, I'm not talking there's like 1 or 2 editors doing this. There's thousands of editors that are releasing clips on Clavicular's behalf. And like Aiden Ross, there's like thousands of editors around the world that are incentivized to get as many views on each clip as possible from these creators. NMP Lol, who lives in Austin, who I actually saw at the Renaissance Fair. I saw NMP Lol at the Renaissance Fair the other day. He said that, doesn't that go against the fact that like you would have to mark the fact that your content that you're releasing is essentially an ad? Because those creators are paying each editor to release those clips, right? So it's essentially paid advertisement, right? So by not putting hashtag ad on those videos, it's kind of in a gray area that you're almost breaking the law, but not really, because it's a gray area, right? So if these private equity companies are buying out big YouTube channels so that they can push their own agenda, wouldn't they have to put hashtag ad on all of their videos as well? Like, doesn't the same principle apply here? You know what I mean? Or am I cooking or am I not cooking?
So much private equity activity over the last few years that the big firms have already bought most of it. So as a newer fund manager on the block, I had to find an industry that the big guys haven't figured out yet. And if I wanted to make a name for myself, I was going to have to get creative and lock in. But where would I even start? And so just as I was able to lock in and, put on my favorite playlist, it hit me. The next investment was staring me right in my face. A platform that now has more TV streaming hours than Netflix, a platform called YouTube.com. So over the next few days, I furiously started doing research on my next channel. And after looking through every niche and crevice of this website, I may have just found the one.
Okay, here's what I will say. I am worried about Twitch and YouTube because YouTube, like, you guys have seen how many creators are posting on Twitter, like, oh, I got demonetized and all I did was use AI to do my voiceovers, or most of my content is authentic, but YouTube flagged it as inauthentic. Like, I feel like YouTube is kind of, like, YouTube and Twitch are both kind of like doing a downward spiral in their own ways. Like, Twitch just does not give a shit because there's so many things they could be doing better, like Twitch VODs, or having an actual algorithm that tailors to you and not just like whoever has the most viewers. And there's so many things, right? But YouTube is like, has like AI slop problem, and they're falsely accusing channels of, or attributing inauthentic content to an entire channel for a small portion of what they do or whatever, right? So I don't know. Like, it's actually weird to know. Like, maybe there will be a new platform that comes out and is the new like king of social media or whatever, right?
Walk you through how I, as private equity, exactly would identify the perfect fit. So thank you for joining, Subscriber Stone investors. For today's meeting, I have three criteria on why we need to invest in this channel. And first and foremost,
wait, was he was in a Zoom call with?
Exactly would identify the perfect fit. So thank you for joining, Subscriber
What is he gonna say?
Stone investors. For today's meeting, I have three criteria on why we need to invest in this channel. And first and foremost is this channel has a proof of concept. This channel has predictable revenue every single month from AdSense. And this channel
Oh man. Oh god.
Revenue every single month from AdSense. And this channel probably has a tiny team. Let's just say probably around 5 to 6 people with low overhead. But this brings me exactly to number 2, which is potential. So as you can see here, this channel has inconsistent views, but it has a loyal audience. So as long as we find the right topics and format,
hang on. So not a lot of views, but loyal audience. Is that what we're saying? I feel like I've seen this before. This has to be like a Graham Stephan video.
A loyal audience. So as long as we find the right topics and format, this can be something we can grow into. Third, running out of time, so I'll tell you about it later on in a different meeting. So anyways, even without that third criteria, you can start to see what private equity firms are looking for when they decide what channels to invest in. But here's why we've only seen the beginning of this. Because after crunching the numbers, let's say I found this Gen channel makes, say, $1 million a year. And in any other industry, a business doing $1 million a year with margins like this would cost me a fortune to invest in. With YouTube channels, I come to find out that they sell to 3 to 5 times their annual earnings. But what I can sell it for is
that is something to be like to note, is that like if you wanted to start an actual physical brick and mortar business that makes $1 million in let's just say like income or whatever one is before taxes, income or revenue, whatever one's before taxes, it's going to cost you, like, it's going to cost a lot of money, right? But you could theoretically, if your ideas are good enough, you can sit down at your desktop, at your computer that you already have, turn on your webcam and record a video that gets millions of views, that makes multi-thousands of dollars, right? And if you can do that enough, then you get brand deals and stuff, and you can make $1 million like almost cheaper. It's almost cheaper to make a YouTube channel that can produce $1 million in revenue than it is to do anything else that I can think of. So that is interesting.
Completely different number. But before I get to that, I had a problem. Because when my boomer boss has never even heard of Mr. Beast, he came from this world of spending $500 million on a single hospital. How was I going to pitch him this opportunity? After some convincing,
Yo, Bo Wizard, thanks for the Prime. Thank you so much for the Prime. Guys, you know what is interesting? Okay, I know that was a joke, but so he's talking about explaining like Mr. Beast to your boomer boss, right? Every decade that's ever existed before the internet has had differences, but they've been small enough to where you can still kind of understand, right? But if I try explaining to my grandma what I do for a living, it does not make sense. And no matter how many times I say it, or how many times I tell her what I do, or how I make money, she asks me every weekend, this is how she asks me how things are going. She goes, "Did you do more stuff on your computer this weekend?" Because that's all she can comprehend. She just knows that I sit at my computer and somehow money comes. But like, it's actually crazy. I feel like the internet's the first time where sometimes the generational differences are so big that it's almost like a communication barrier. It's like you're speaking an entirely new language, which is weird. Like, name one other time that's happened in history.
Reluctantly agreed, but now the pressure was really on. If it all goes wrong, I'm cooked. Now my job was on the line and I was stressed. Maybe this was a dumb idea. What am I even doing? I should have just invested in another hospital. But then I remember something a wise man once told me. Just do it! And that's when I realized I had to go all in.
Try explaining Shia LaBeouf saying just do it to your grandma.
Because just buying one channel isn't the play. The play was something much bigger. So I bought 9 more similar channels for a similar price. But here's where the math gets really interesting. What I do next is to combine all 10 under one company in what's known in the private equity world as a roll-up. And what it unlocks is a few things. One being greater efficiencies, because now the same legal team handles all the contracts, same person negotiates every brand deal, and same thumbnail testing operation, accounting, and compliance. It's exactly what private equity has been doing for years with hospitals, but the biggest unlock is what this now means for me and my investors. Because remember, I bought each channel for 3 to 5 times its earnings. But after this roll up into my portfolio, as a whole, this now sells for 12 to 20 times earnings. So without making any of the channels better, just by buying them, putting them under one roof, the valuation is now 20 times more. It's exactly how I make a shit ton of money, and it's the power of multiple arbitrage. So a few years pass, and now my boomer boss is happy, and he can't stop bragging to his friends about how much money he's making from this site called YouTube.com. The problem is, I still haven't paid back any of my investors. We're at year 4 now, but remember, our funds investors are expecting returns by year 5 and 7. So the clock was starting to run out. So now it wasn't just about locking in, I have to make money. So now it's all about optimization. That extra day that we used to give to make the videos better are cut. No, we want more videos per week. Let's also optimize content strategy. Those videos that the creator thinks that is interesting, who cares? Those need to be under strict questioning now. Instead, what we need to be doing are videos that are proven to perform. That's the priority. And just like that, similar videos are now starting to get put out week over week. And we're pumping them out like a content factory. And audiences are slowly...
Okay, I have 3 things to say. Number 1, guys, 07 for Mad Gamer Moses' grandma, 07. Number 2, real quick, the fact that private equity is able to buy out hospitals and healthcare is insane. Because I don't know if you guys remember this, but back before my Undertale video blew up, back before I edited it, I had to get my appendix removed. And I essentially was window shopping. Like, I was calling several different doctors and hospitals asking, hey, I think I have appendicitis. I think my appendix is inflamed. How much is it going to cost if that is the case? And they can tell you, but it takes a while for them to tell you. Or I basically did that for like 2 hours, and I went to the one that was the cheapest. That if I were to have appendicitis, it would have been the cheapest. And I walked in there and they said, hey, if I diagnose you with appendicitis, you cannot leave and I have to perform on you here. And it's going to cost you like $5,000. And the doctor goes, if you go to this other hospital that's subsidized by the government, then you can potentially get your bill like wiped by like 80%. So I went to that hospital and they were subsidized by the government. But I got my bill in the mail and it was $77,000. $77,000. That was my bill that I got in the mail. But what I had to do was I had to apply for financial aid. Wait, hang on. $77,000. I had to apply for financial aid and send in an application showing my income and everything. And what happened was my entire hospital bill got wiped completely. Completely subsidized by the government. It got wiped. But my surgeon, the actual person that performed surgery on me, I paid them $550. $550. So what's costing people with insurance? If I had insurance If I had insurance, I wouldn't have paid $77,000. But that's how much like the insurance companies are getting charged. You know what I mean? So like, it's just screwing over people that like have insurance. It's just screwing over everybody, which is insane. But the fact that the actual person that performed surgery on me, the actual person that took out my appendix only charged $550 and the entire bill was $77,000. It's just like, healthcare does not make any sense in the US, genuinely. And honestly, I have a question for all you guys that don't live in the US. Is it the same elsewhere? Like, I gotta imagine if you're living in Finland, you're living a good life. You know, you walk into the doctor's office, you walk out, you what do you pay, six pennies? You walk in the hospital, they remove your appendix, and all it costs is like you have to let the doctors do one sauna session in your private sauna.
You're starting to notice that something is a bit off in the comments, but who cares? We're here to make money now, and if I want to maximize profits, I have to eliminate these risks. And the biggest risk is staring right at my face here. Gen here may have been the one that built his channel from the ground up, but if the whole channel depends on just Gen and he burns out or gets sick or decides to leave, this asset stops becoming worth anything. And I can't have that happen. It's what's called the key man risk, and there is no way in hell I'm gonna lose out on my investment because of Gen. So I start hiring new hosts that are gonna be slightly more attractive.
Okay. Here's what I will say. That is an issue. Because in another business, if you're a business owner, if you're Warren Buffett or whatever, and I don't know if he owns any businesses, but he's an investor. If you're a business owner, you can just hire a CEO and they run your company, right? Your CEO, COO. If you're a content creator, you can't necessarily do that because you are the face of the channel. And so like what Super Creative Name just said this a second ago. What happened when MatPat left film and game theory, all the theories, right? Is the views like dipped a ton. Right? Because like, it's like, and by the way, it took 4 people to replace him and the views still tanked. So like, it's actually very impressive. The fact that these channels are able to replace, like I'm thinking about Veritasium, right? They replaced Derek. Derek is not necessarily the person that's talking in the face of the videos as much anymore. Sometimes he like never shows up anymore, right? And they're still getting a ton of views, which is it's just like mind boggling. Like, what they did was they just like introduced the person that's like the main talker now in the Veritasium videos, and like he was like talking every so often in videos, and now they've like fully replaced him, which is just like actually a little crazy.
Been taller than Gen, and they slowly start getting introduced. And now that we have more hosts, we can start launching more channels like Gen Plus. And since we're now pumping out videos every day, it's too expensive to hire a creative director. So scripts start getting approved by AI to make sure it's brand friendly and it's at least good enough to go before filming. And weeks pass, and now the channel slowly becomes something that could keep running without the person who built it. The thing is, comments now really start noticing. And some now even start commenting that this is the last Gen video that they'll watch. But here's the part that matters and why no one has told you about this. The FTC updated their endorsement rules in 2023 that if a creator gets paid to promote a product, they have to tell you exactly like you see on this video. But if a private equity firm buys that creator's entire channel, even if every video they make going forward is produced inside a portfolio being managed toward a financial exit, the creator doesn't have to say anything. And that hush hush is exactly
I literally just
what
asked at the beginning.
Any of this to even work. Because here at Subscriber Stone Capital, what I didn't tell you is we do businesses with these creators in 2 ways. Either we own it outright 100% or a majority stake acquisition of 50 to 80% where the original creator remains. And we actually prefer those deals because now the creator also becomes a shareholder in Subscriber Stone Capital. Okay, but why do we do that? Well, time's up. Sorry. Anyways, well, when their financial interest is now aligned with mine, he or she is going to damn well make sure he's going to keep cranking out videos. But more importantly, he or she is going to damn well make sure to not tell you, the audience, that he or she was owned by me all along. Because we both know how that will go, right? By aligning our incentives and having stakes in
That is crazy. Okay, that's almost kind of evil, honestly. Because you're taking the likeness and the trust that an audience has that one person or a team of people built up over several years, and without even having to tell them that it's not even really you talking anymore, you can just keep making videos. That's insane.
Each other's companies. Now the creator is handcuffed because at the end of the day, we both want the exit to go well, right? So it seems like I was joking, but the thing is, none of that was even a bit. Like, yeah, Subscriberstone Capital is fake as shit, but it's similar to what actual private equity firms that bought your favorite channels have been doing for the last 5 years. And a few main players are increasingly driving up all of the deal flow. And it's not just happening to YouTube. The same dynamic is playing out everywhere online. Platforms that seem free are really just collecting everything about you and selling it to whoever will pay, like your inbox, your habits, and your behavior over time. And all of it is becoming an asset on someone else's balance sheet. That's where today's sponsor, Proton Mail, comes in. It's a private email service built on...
Okay, guys, W Proton Mail. Heck yeah. W Proton Mail.
Now let's talk about which channels have actually been bought and the few players...
That doesn't count as pause, does it?
Some of these names are going to surprise you, but the bigger surprise might be where that money is going and where it's coming from. So we'll be looking at 3 main players and their portfolio, but why not start with the first and the biggest, Electrify Video Partners. Based in London with $135 million raised and backed by another private equity firm called Capital D, they've been buying up a bunch of channels over the last 5 years. And you'll definitely recognize at least one of them. From Fireship, which is a coding education, Simple History, history animation, Improvement Pill, self-improvement, and this one really surprised me, Fern, that amazing documentary channel, but the biggest and most significant one is Veritasium.
I have a question for you guys, genuinely. What do you guys watch? Have you guys ever seen a Veritasium video or a Fern video or anything like this? Is any of this hitting home? Okay, so Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, that's it. No, I've never seen a video from Jen or whatever, from Gen, however he pronounced his name. But I have seen videos from Fern and Veritasium and obviously the film and game theory. Film and game theory, their animation styles they do for their shorts is like how I learned to edit YouTube shorts around how they do, because I love their style so much. I used to love science videos. It kind of saddens me. I love science videos. I think you guys would be surprised by the videos that I watch offline. Let me go through, and I have a Northern Lion video. I guarantee you guys either don't watch Northern Lion or don't know who he is. Number 2, I have 7 lessons from 7 years on YouTube, so content shit. I have a Big A Atriac video, which is talking about current events. I love that stuff. I have Beast Games is the darkest show I've ever seen, so Beast Games drama. I probably have Pirate Software drama too. I have Joe Bart Philosophy, the feeling of nostalgia. The content that I consume and the content that I produce is actually extremely different. You know who I love? Brian Cox. And guys, that's his last name, okay? That's his last name. That is his last name. His last name is Brian Cox, okay? He's a science guy. And the way that he explains science is amazing. I love it. You know who I love, but like they don't release videos that often? Drew Gooden. Man, he just every video he comes out with is banger after banger. Drew Gooden makes some amazing YouTube videos. StyroPyro! Guys, 2 seconds. I actually, when I was in Illinois in 2013, I went to Carbondale, Illinois for an internship. And I met Drake Anthony. Drake Anthony is his actual name. I didn't even know he did YouTube. I had no clue. But when I met him, if you guys don't know StyroPyro, just look up StyroPyro and then type in laser cannon or something. When I met StyroPyro, he just released that video, that laser shotgun video. And it was going viral in Russia, which was insane. But I have some pictures with him. Hang on. It's Drake Anthony, who's the StyroPyro guy. And he's like exactly how he is on camera is exactly how he is off camera. I met him and he's a super friendly guy. Like he's actually like incredibly friendly. I don't think I have the pictures here. I'd have to go back to my Facebook, which I don't use Facebook and I forgot my password.
And by Derek Moeller, Electrify became the majority owner and took over hiring, logistics, compliance, taxes in a deal that allowed Moeller to stay on as co-owner on his 20 million subscriber channel.
They would take care of things like hiring, production, logistics.
And this deal was actually announced a few years ago in April 2023. But hold on, take a look at that date. The deal closed in 2023, but he didn't directly tell his audience on YouTube until Christmas Eve of...
Sorry, I wanted to read these.
He didn't directly tell his audience on YouTube.
Make a video about the ownership of the channel and what changed since the Electrify video has bought your channel. Investors ruining another good YouTube channel. This isn't Derek's channel. It's owned by a faceless conglomerate of investors. Okay.
Until Christmas Eve of 2025. So why did he wait? Well, I imagine...
Let Me Know and Summoning Salt are two video channels that I've watched extensively.
Oh, and I say they because he also became a shareholder in Electrify itself.
I signed the deal in April 2023, and since then, Veritasium has been owned and run by me and Electrify.
So obviously his financial interest is also aligned with the firm's eventual exit. But to be fair, it was also a smart business move. By keeping it low key and then going on to create 3 of the channel's most watched videos ever, and subscriber counts continuing to grow by 50%, by showing that nothing has changed and then announcing it, there's not much things that an audience could say. And especially if Moeller is still there and the videos are still quality, if we look at just the numbers, Electrify did make Veritasium better. So the important nuance here is that private equity takeover of a channel doesn't automatically equal bad, but you know by now that if every deal looked like this, there'd be no video. Because remember what I said earlier about
I don't know if, I mean, I guess objectively Veritasium got better, but there was definitely, like I used to show Veritasium videos in the classroom when I was teaching physics. You know what I mean? And just the authenticity and the simplicity of some of Veritasium, Derek's videos, like proving that there's like a leakage current in the wires, like when you flip a switch or you connect a circuit, there's leakage current, and that's what's actually jumping between the 2 wires. And he some professor bet him $10,000 that he was wrong or whatever. That was an entertaining video, and I think he did that way before he was bought out. And those videos were just super clever. There really is something to say about the creativity that you need to have to work within the box of constraints you have. So if I had Mr. Beast's money, like the ideas that I do would be way different. But because I don't, I'm reacting to this video.
Keyman Risk, which is a perfect transition to our second player, Lunar X, which was specifically launched by former KKR executives to invest in digital-first media brands. And they made a splash onto this scene in 2022 by acquiring The Game Theorist with 40 million plus combined subscribers.
I did not know that.
Channels. And similar to Veritasium's Derek, the sale was framed as this thing that would let MatPat, the guy who built it, to finally be able to step back.
On March 9th, I will be hosting my last Theory episode.
The deal was that MatPat
Hey, Lily,
would
welcome to
handle
the stream.
direction behind the scenes, and Lunar X would handle all the boring business stuff. And since MatPat has officially stepped away from the camera, on the surface...
Okay, that right there. So this... I've seen, Lily, thanks for the follow. I've seen a MatPat interview where he was talking about when he first was able to hire editors and animators, he was seeing his ideas come to life. This animation style,
business stuff. And
right
since MatPat has officially stepped away from the camera,
you see how like the characters like bounce on screen, like they come off screen, and like sometimes, like if I wanted to animate a PNG of me picking up this coffee cup, I would just have the coffee cup off screen, and like my PNG would like look like this, and I would go, and like come back up with the coffee cup like that. You know what I mean? So like, that style of editing is literally what I've based my entire, like that's what I strived for like a year and a half learning to do like video editing. So like I've really tried to emulate what they do here because I think it looks so clean.
on the surface, it actually seems like a success. They gained 1 million new subscribers across all 5 channels, but the revenue tells a different story. Estimated monthly earnings has dropped 70% from roughly 52,000 in March 2024 to around 13,000 to 17,000 by...
Oh my God, guys. Can you imagine only making $18,000 a month? Can you even imagine the hardships that you would have to go through? The adversity that you would have to stiff arm to live off of only $18,000 a month? Oh my God.
February 2026. So what this tells you is that once the Keyman has removed himself from camera, the loyal audience also went away with it. Now, it remains to be seen if they will recover, but for some, they didn't even get that luxury. Which leads us to our third and final player, Recurrent Ventures. Oh, and they raised $300 million from our favorite private equity firm, Blackstone. And their portfolio is huge, from Task and Purpose to even Popular Science. But their most important acquisition is Donut Media. Founded in 2015, these 4 guys built a cult following around automotive content with their 5.8 million subscriber channel. And so it's no surprise that Recurrent Ventures was all over this to acquire Donut, and they successfully did so in November 2021. And the big promise that they made here was that all founding staff would remain, but that soon changed. After securing that sweet $300 million funding,
I've seen this guy before.
Recurrent started moving different. They overhired across the portfolio, attempted to squeeze more revenue from product reviews, and when the economics deteriorated, they started to cut costs. And even though raw subscriber count continued to grow 8 million by 2024, what didn't, and sounds a little bit corny, was that magic that made them great. Less than 3 years after acquisition, 3 of the 4 guys all departed within weeks of each other, and so did the audience. Because 2 of the hosts launched their own independent channels, Big Time and Speed, and just within a matter of weeks, crossed 1.6 million combined subscribers. So with all these different outcomes, and right now it's showing.
You know, here's what I will say. This is like one of my biggest fears, is like getting to a point where I just completely sell out. You know what I mean? I don't think that I will, and let me tell you why. I think I've already proved that I won't, because if like just selling out and making as much money as possible was my prerogative, I would have just kept making Undertale and Deltarune videos. I would have done scripted videos like Shay did. You know what I mean? I would have just done that. But I didn't want to. You know what I mean? Because you never really know. Like everyone likes to think that they would do the right thing when presented with the opportunity, but you never really know until it happens.
More bad than good ones. What's interesting to see though is that private equity money keeps flowing and flowing. And when you look at the channels that they're targeting, it starts to kind of make sense. Take a look at that acquisition map again. Veritasium, Fireship, Economics Explained. These are all channels aimed at educated adults in high value niches like finance, education, and science. And this matters a lot because a regular TV ad around these niches costs around $10 to $15 to reach 1,000 people. But with YouTube, in one of these niches, it can cost $50 per 1,000. And again, it goes back to...
Do you guys know what gaming makes? Can you guys guess? So finance makes $15 to $50 per 1,000 views, right? How much do you think gaming makes? Okay, by the way, it's on screen, but that is not accurate. Gaming will make, if you release a 10-minute video, 8 to 10-minute video, gaming will make about $2-ish per 1,000 views. The only time you're gonna make $4 to $15 per video is if you on like a live, like a VOD, like a 4-hour VOD. That's the only time you're gonna make anywhere near like $10 or whatever. Like my Undertale video, I think is like $4, and that one's 28 minutes or whatever.
In one of these niches, it can cost $50 per 1,000. And again, it goes back to advertisers not just paying for impressions, but they're paying for that trust. It's the same reason that Subscriber Stone Capital would go after a channel like Gen, because if I had to guess, you watching probably have more disposable income than someone regularly watching Sloptainment or kid channels. But turns out, even that is changing. Because one of the biggest deals in this entire space that
Does anyone here watch ad content? Okay, I know that I'm pausing frequently right now. Does anyone here actually watch AI content? Yeah, but guys, it's so popular to be like, I hate AI. I'll never watch anything AI. But like, is there at least one person that's like, yeah, you know, I watched, sometimes it tricks me. Okay, W for your honesty. W for your honesty. I personally do not watch AI content. But if I scroll across a video that's like, look how good AI is getting, I will watch that video. If it's like really good lip syncing to like how a human actually talks, I'll watch that video because I'm like, wow, this is getting pretty good. Yeah, I feel like as soon as I can tell a video's AI, I'll just be like, okay, this is literally just waste. Like I feel like I'm being deceived, you know? Bro, imagine I just pull off the mask. If I like have a knife and just like cut into my face and I become cake. Like, can you imagine if that just happened right now? If I was like, oh, you don't consume AI content? Knife, face, cake. Bro, that would literally be like the plot twist of the century. Twitter's like 70% AI users at this point. Like, genuinely, I'm going to say it. Twitter is an addiction, genuinely. Because I don't like being on Twitter. I upload videos to Twitter. I don't like being on the platform, and yet I find myself on the platform more than I want. And it doesn't matter what post you're on. You have a chance of clicking the comments of a post that you are choosing to engage with and scrolling down, and the first video is somebody's OnlyFans advertisement. Like there is always, it doesn't matter what video you're watching, there's always a chance that is going to be in the comments. What other universe do you see that in? Like, guys, I have thought before, I'm like, man, I personally think, I believe, and I know that I'm biased, but I think that I grew up in a good time. Like I grew up when cell phones weren't, like smartphones weren't really a thing yet. I was like already 10 years old, or sorry, when did the iPhone come out? I think I was like 13 by the time the iPhone came out. So like I had a childhood, like a normal childhood. Normal, right? It's subjective, but normal. But if I grew up now, I feel like I would just be cooked. I know like Gen Z loves to be like, oh, Gen Alpha's so cooked. Like, and they say it like it's their own fault. But like, if you were born today, do you think you'd be like, I'm going to go, yes, I'm going to go read a book And I hate Coco Melon. That's for the streets Coco Melon. You know what I mean? Like, it makes you think.
I haven't even talked about yet has nothing
Most
to do with
addicted to
educated
Twitter?
adults. It has everything to do with toddlers. If you have kids or for some reason watch this show, which is kind of weird, you know exactly what this is. But also, it's probably more weird that you've never heard of them, considering that they're the second most subscribed YouTube channel on earth with 120 million subscribers. But in November 2021, Candle Media,
Literally never
run
seen
by
a single
former
video
Disney
of
executives
Coco
and
Melon.
backed again by Blackstone, acquired Coco Melon's parent company for $3 billion. And what they built with that money is a system that literally tracks second by second when a toddler stops paying attention to their videos. Am I figuring out the exact moment?
Like, genuinely, that's so depressing. They tracked when the toddlers look away from the screen. That is fucking evil. Like, genuinely.
When a 2-year-old looks away, they can engineer every video onwards to make sure that never happens again.
That's
the point
so
is, it's not
gross.
just channels for adults. Private equity is increasingly reaching the youngest audiences who know nothing other than to press play on their damn iPad. Because as long as those kids keep watching and begging their parents to buy the latest merch or game, that's all the return on investment anyone needs. And the thing is, every deal that I've showed you so far are only the ones that we know about. And when collective investment into YouTube channels have now reached $4 million, there's probably a lot more that we don't. Like, again, maybe this channel. But before I reveal that truth, we have to talk about what all this actually means. Because everything I've talked about isn't just about entertainment getting worse or bought out. Matter of fact, all this even goes beyond money. This means controlling what the next generation believes and how our future is already getting manipulated.
Okay, I'm just addressing, if I ever have kids, I know what not to show them. Again, I hope that I'm the exact same way. You know what I mean? No one is saying that being a parent is easy, and no one is saying that raising a child is easy. And I can imagine just being able to hand them one thing and then not have to stress or worry about anything, and you can just sit there and have a peace of mind. That has to be so ridiculously tempting. But God, I hope that I don't do the same thing. When you're online and you watch a video like this, the whole world just seems like really bad. But like, as soon as you just kind of like go talk to real people in the real world, it's like, you really realize that you can kind of cultivate whatever experience you want. When I was making content creation like 3 years ago, and I was essentially only doing that, I basically put no effort into real social situation, like social relationships. If I were to read a negative comment, it would really bug me because I didn't have anybody to talk to. You know what I mean? I didn't really have any like friends down here in Austin. And like the more that I actually put effort into like actually making and sustaining good social relationships is when like I can read a negative comment and then just laugh at it. Because I know I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go salsa dancing later tonight with one of my friends. So it's like, you know what I mean? I feel like when I only look for the negative, or when I don't seek out opportunities that are different than what I see online, then I have historically just fallen in a spiraled loop of just like, oh, everything sucks. Personally, I'm speaking personally. But as soon as I started branching out and like actually putting effort into real relationships, that's when I feel like I was like, you know what? The world is not actually so scary. You know what I mean? And like things online don't really matter as much as we think they do.
And if you think that's hyperbolic, think again, because we already saw what
Price Petty, I agree.
do when it's pointed at politics. During the 2024 election, Trump sat down with Joe Rogan.
And sorry. Okay, I'm gonna go back. I'm still kind of struggling with that, to be honest with you guys. Like, even still to this day, I'm kind of struggling with like really going outside of my comfort zone to sustain and like make sure that my social relationships are like happy and healthy. I still am struggling with that, and I'm still working on that. But like, I feel like since I've at least started putting in some effort, especially my relationship with things online has gotten so much better, I would say.
And if you think that's hyperbolic, think again, because we already saw what creator trust can do when it's pointed at politics. During the 2024 election, Trump sat down with Joe Rogan, Aiden Ross, the Nelk Boys, Theo Vaughn, and
wasn't this
dozens of creators
insane?
Most boomers and big heads that traditional media has never heard about.
President Trump back on the podcast.
We're back. I'll say that to the Nelk Boys.
It's our last chance.
If she wins, the country's finished.
His appearance on Rogan alone pulled nearly 38 million YouTube views within hours, and during his
Bro,
victory
how
speech,
insane was
Dana
this?
White got on stage and thanked content creators by name.
I want to thank
like the Nelk Boys, Aiden Ross, Theo Vaughn, and last but not least, the mighty and powerful Joe Rogan.
Among list
Guys, okay, I don't think I'm ever gonna forget this. Like, I feel like in 30 years from now, I'm gonna be talking about this the same way that people were talking about the moon landing in 1970.
Theo Vaughn, and last.
But when I sat here and watched and listened to Dana White thank Aiden Ross and the Nelk Boys live while seeing this in the background, like I'm not joking. I genuinely felt like I was dreaming. Genuinely. Like, this was so surreal to sit here and watch Dana White thank Aiden Ross while Donald Trump sat in the background with this face.
But not least, the mighty and powerful Joe Rogan.
Among listeners who said podcasts influenced their vote, 54% went for Trump. But where I'm going with this is, here's where it gets uncomfortable. Private equity acquired channels already are being told to change content to be safer because controversy scares of advertisers and their portfolio managers. So if that's already happening, what's stopping a private equity firm from acquiring political commentary channels and steering their editorial direction towards candidates who would pass laws that benefit the firm's other investments? Because the thing is, there's currently no rules against it. And right now, when an influencer is cheaper to acquire than
What?
some
Wait, what?
mainstream
What? I didn't see this. XQC met
rules
the
against
president?
it. And right now, when an influencer
What is this? Did this happen? Did this actually happen? XQC. Bro, how did that conversation even go? Mr. President, I really like what you're doing. I really think you have some good ideas. Oh, thank you. Thank you, X. I really appreciate it. Dap me up here. I mean, Mr. President, I feel like they're going to make some really good things happening. Like, what are they saying? What are they talking about?
is cheaper to acquire than some mainstream news network. Plus, the audience trusts them more. And like we established, when a creator doesn't have to disclose what private
Also, he's
equity
Canadian,
firm
isn't he?
they're owned by, it really becomes a no-brainer on both sides. And so remember that third criteria I mentioned in the subscriber stone investor meeting? That third criteria I'm sure private equity firms consider is how much the channel values money over principles. Because I can tell you from experience, I've gotten offers for this channel that I can't fully disclose. But what I can tell you is that when those conversations happen, the first thing that gets discussed is the sort and list of topics that you're not allowed to touch anymore. So really think about where all this is heading. We stopped trusting the banks after 2008. We stopped trusting the government a long time ago, hopefully, and you stopped trusting mainstream media. And now it's pretty undeniable that that trust has been transferred to your favorite YouTuber like myself. But at the same time,
I'm selling out. I'm selling out for 6 cents. First person to offer me 6 cents, I'm selling out and I'm pushing whatever political agenda you want me to.
when 80% say that the biggest trust killer is when influencers reveal themselves as not genuine or transparent, unlike the other institutions we named that lost trust slowly over decades, this relationship is something that can break overnight. And what we're now beginning to see is that it's
thanks for
not
the
just
6 cents.
private equity, but the largest companies is making their way into one of the last institutions that people sort of trust. As I was finishing this video, OpenAI just bought TBPN, a live stream talk show that's like the sports center of the tech industry.
A core part of this is editorial independence. We can say whatever we want because we're live and we don't need to run anything through anyone.
Well, we'll see about that. But when reports are saying that the deal was somewhere near $100 million, we'll see how much independence that truly means. So whether this is the beginning of the end, one thing is for certain. Within the next 10 to 15 years, a major influencer is going to run for president and he or she is going to win. And when that happens, the question won't be whether they're qualified. The question you need to think about is who owns them.
One question that I have for you, sorry for the flashbang here, guys. One question I have for you, if there was one influencer that won the presidency and became the president of the United States, who do you think would do the best? Maybe Hassan? 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 Really? Markiplier for president? That Sydney person? Who's that Sydney person? Markiplier, Mr. B. Mr. B. Markiplier or Schlatt? Schlatt? Bro, I feel like Schlatt wouldn't give a shit. Schlatt wouldn't care about anything. He'd be like, why? He'd be like, why did you put me in this position? Why am I here? Here's what I will say, and it doesn't sound like you guys know this person. I think Atrioc would probably really care about doing a good job. Or I could also see Markiplier doing, like, wanting to do a really, really good job. I could also see that. Who else would be a good candidate? Asmongold. No. Aiden Ross, actually. Aiden Ross.
So I'll be going even deeper into this issue next week on my free newsletter in the video description.
Oh, guys, you can sign up for the newsletter. All right. This doesn't count as a pause. It's the end of the video.